Welcome to Creepin' It Real. I am Judah. Let's talk about the 1994 Italian horror film known as Creatures from the Abyss. Now, this movie feels like it was ripped right from the 80s, and 94 isn't too far away. But my gosh, these effects are so dated, and the dubbing on this movie is the worst. In fact, this whole movie is hideous, but it was so entertaining. This is going out to all of you who like the so bad it is good movies, because by golly, this is by far one of the worst. It is not the absolute worst. I think Winter Beast, for me personally, takes that, but this is up there. This movie is insane. It is bonkers. I can't even begin to describe to you the insanity in this movie. You just have to watch it yourself. It's just so bad. I was entertained, but it's horrible. So I'll just come out of the gate right now, and I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10. But let's check out this trailer. She just slapped that girl. Bap. Did you hear that? That was hilarious, that sound effect. The beginning of this movie is really crazy. It's like these, when you read the synopsis at various places, it says 5 teens. I guess that's accurate. I would have called them young college students, but young college students are quite technically teens. So I guess, that's a little nitpicky here. Which I do love to do, by the way. Love the nitpicks. It's one of my favorite things to do. But it starts off with these 2 boys and these 3 girls that decide they're going to go take a boat trip. And when I talk a boat trip, that's just some kind of like blow-up boat that has a motor on it. They decide that they're just going to freaking drive off into the sea until they run out of gas. I guess their plan was, we're just going to drive until the motor runs out of gas, then we'll fill it up, turn around, and head back. That was their great plan. But for some reason, they didn't load up another gas can. I don't know. They just forgot it, and then they start yelling at each other. And they're like, "Oh, don't worry. We'll just paddle back." Yeah, good luck with that, kids. And then they're like, "Well, what if it storms?" "Oh, storms hardly ever happen in this time of year." Well, wouldn't you believe it? It happened that time of the year. So these kids are stuck out there in the middle of the ocean, sea, whatever, who knows. And it's pouring down rain. Their little, inflatable kids tub that they were boating out there is getting filled with water. They're freaking out. And then they see a yacht off in the distance. And like, hooray, we're saved. So they hand paddle themselves off to this yacht. Of course, as they're doing that, they find some dead body floating in the water, and they make to the yacht, which is suspiciously void of all human beings. There's some kind of crazy lab with different, strange sea creatures. Some are frozen, some are in some water, and they start to see that one of the containers has been broken open, and whatever was inside of it is still alive. It gets really weird. One of the boys claims this yacht for himself. He's like, "Yeah, we'll boat it in. It's ours now. We'll have parties here." Not at all thinking that somebody is going to want their boat back. Doesn't occur to him. They're drinking. They're making themselves dinner. They're taking showers. It's absurd. It's a weird, like a swinger science lab yacht. It's the weirdest thing ever. There's some strange clock on the wall that says odd sexual things occasionally to people who walk past it. Usually it's like, how late it is? Shouldn't you be in bed? But there's also some strange sexual innuendos in there. It's also a very high-tech boat. They go into the bathroom and the shower talks to you in a very sensual way and is almost is begging you to pleasure yourself in the shower. It's very odd.
Wake up, Judy! Are you crazy? The fish is on fire, goddammit!
That beetle there, that she just puked out has like nothing to do with this movie whatsoever. It makes little sense to the overall plot line. She vomits these bugs out. She's freaking out, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're lying. You're just making stuff up." She's like, "No, go check in the bathroom." They see the vomit, but there's no bugs, and they're like, "Oh, she just wants attention." Because that's the first thing I do when I want attention. I vomit, and then I make stuff up about what's in my vomit. I vomited, and there was a tire iron in there, guys. You pay attention to me. Oh. And why do I pause it? Gosh dang it. I gotta... Yeah, did you see that? That flying fish? That was peak special effects right there. The dialogue in this movie is so fantastic. It's so... And this scene right here where he's busting all these things, it's so melodramatic. His girlfriend, or his fiance, I guess at this point, got bit by that flying fish that you just saw, and then he goes on a freaking rampage. He grabs some kind of random, like, jawbone, some huge-ass jawbone randomly sitting there in this lab, and he just starts smashing everything. And he's so angry because he started getting into their computers and seeing the weird stuff that they were doing. And this is where it gets even weirder than this. He starts reading some of their notes about these prehistoric fish, and it starts getting really oddly erotic. It's so weird, guys. I can't even... I got lost. I started not understanding what was going on, but this research in these prehistoric fish, everything was talking about, sex, and it got really weird. And at this point, they think that the whole yacht is empty. They do eventually find cowering and hidden somewhere some kind of professor. And they pull him up, but he's incoherent. He's just mumbling and moaning and cowering in a corner throughout the rest of the movie. He also, throughout the movie, is fumbling with this little vial and a needle, a syringe, which goes nowhere. You never know. Whenever they cut to him, he's always just cowering in this corner and just like looking at this vial and this needle and playing around with it. And he fills it up eventually and keeps it in his pocket. Whenever kids come by, he freaks it out and hides and stuff. It goes nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. The whole movie, I'm like, what's he going to do with this thing? Is he going to inject himself? Is he going to inject somebody else? Then towards the end of the movie, all spoilers, by the way, he encounters some stop-motion creature, which was badass. And he pulls out the syringe, and you're like, oh, maybe it's something that'll kill the monsters. He drops it immediately and gets killed. So I'm like, what was the plan here? Where were we going with this syringe? Anyway, so based off this guy right here who's freaking out and busting all this stuff. So, oh my gosh, guys, this whole scene, it was so drawn out and long and stupid. It was like 5 minutes of just slow motion, him busting all of these containers and yelling, "You die, son of a bitch." Anyway, when he's reading these notes about this weird erotic fish stuff, it cuts to a shot of that professor cowering in a corner, and you hear this guy's voice say to him, "How long have you been effing fish, professor?" And he goes, "They were all of age." And then back to this kid like busting up all... It's the weirdest cuts in this movie. The whole beginning of this movie, I thought... Have you ever tried watching a movie that maybe still might be in the cinema and somebody put it on YouTube, but in their attempt to like escape copyright claims or something, they've chopped the movie up weird and they've switched things around so that they won't get some kind of a copyright claim? That's what I thought was going on with this movie, because the cuts were so absurd and made no sense. It was like these kids are out here, you know, in their little flotation device, and then suddenly it cuts to some weird, like, crazy stop motion thing and things exploding and people being ripped open. And I was like, what? And then back to the kids boating. And then back to this other weird crap that made no sense. Close-ups of eyeballs and stuff. It was, I was literally like, is this what? Is this the way it's supposed to be edited? Later on, I came to understand, okay, as the kids are boating, we are witnessing the events on the yacht that brought it to its place to where it had no survivors. But the cuts are so fast, so short, and so close up, you're confused. You don't really know what's going on. So it was horrible. I was confused for the first maybe 10 minutes of this movie as to what was actually going on, or if I was actually watching the original edit of the movie. So, yeah, stuff is weird. There's some weird fish sex stuff going on in this movie. Absurd. Back to this trailer.
Plankton? What's that?
Plankton is the major source of nutrient for fish. It was contaminated by radioactive waste dumped by a ship in this area.
That's another weird thing. It's like they're trying to bring awareness to radioactivity and toxic waste being dumped, you know, and how it can affect the food chain, which is a legitimate concern for some. But how they tied in this weird, like, fish sex stuff is so bizarre. It's so bizarre. By the way, there is a secondary title for this movie, also known as Plankton. So when I was trying to find this movie to watch it, I had a little bit of difficulty. As I've mentioned in past reviews, these movies that have multiple titles can sometimes be hard to find. But I did find it under Creature from the Abyss on YouTube. But other places I was finding it listed as Plankton.
It contaminated the bottom of this part of the sea.
Contaminated the plankton?
Tell me that creature isn't just cool. Come on, guys. You know that. You know you want to see this. It's a horrible movie, but you gotta watch this movie. I mean, it is top notch. This is not a kid's movie, though, by the way, because there's a lot of nudity and sex in it. Kind of, you know, it almost goes into tentacle porn. Almost. It's disturbing for sure. Don't miss it. I really don't have a lot to say about this movie. It's just the absurdity never ends. Once you have some kind of contact with these fish, it makes it seem like some of them, they ate fish, they ingested the fish, and they got infected that way. One person got bit by a fish, they got infected that way. There was some weird, this couple was having sex. She got infected because this guy was infected. So it's some weird STD, fish STD also, blood transition, you know, food ingestion thing. It was weird. So this girl who thinks that she's having sex with this young man, he then transforms into this creature, this fish creature. She becomes impregnated, and later on in the film, all spoilers once again, this is the weirdest stuff. She starts complaining about how her stomach burns. She's like crouched down on the ground, and then suddenly like all this caviar starts pouring out of her vajayjay. She has a bathing suit on, so there's no JJ shots other than you see just caviar pouring out of the sides of her bathing suit. It really grossed me out, not going to lie. She's freaking out about this. A lot of other weird stuff ensues. The guy left them there, and he's like, I got to go take care of things. And he goes in the bottom, and he starts busting all the fuel tanks with gasoline is everywhere. And his big plan is to blow up the yacht. And then he comes back up. By this time, the one girl that was watching the girl with caviar pouring out of her hoochie, she took off because she's freaked out. And then the boy comes and sees this girl with all this stuff pouring out of her. And at this point, she's like snapped. And she's all like, my babies, my babies. She's like picking up this caviar, letting it spill out of her hands. It's coming out of her vajayjay. She's just like, my babies, my babies. And at this point, this dude's like, okay, you're a lost cause. I'm going to blow this boat up with you on it. He takes off. He meets back up with his fiance, girlfriend, whatever. They try to save the professor. It just goes downhill pretty bad. I won't let you know who survives or if anybody survives. You got to watch it yourself. This movie is crazy. It's so crazy, guys. I'm telling you. I'm standing by my 4 out of 10. I was freaking entertained, but be aware this is not a kid's movie. Don't think it'd be a great thing to share with your kids because it's not. Let's check out some reviews from IMDb. This person, Patty1516, gives it a 10 out of 10, the best sea horror since Jaws. This film is by far the best sea horror I have ever seen, bar none. Bar none. Thank you, Patty. The sex scenes are perhaps the best on par with those in Team America. I've never seen Team America, so I can't say. The special effects are probably the best I've ever seen. At this point, I feel like they're being a little facetious. Patty1516, did you really think that this was the greatest sea horror movie, bar none? I'm not sure. I think you're being a little tongue-in-cheek here, but we'll keep on reading. Special effects are probably the best I've ever seen. You might be right. And the dialogue, such as, how long have you been effing fish, Professor? What? They were all of age. I brought that up. So now you know that this is some good dialogue. Since 2 of us have mentioned this, you know this is top-notch writing. The dubbing is definitely superb. Now I sound like Patty1516. I'm being so facetious right now. The film's radioactive levels were above danger zones. The dialogue is ace. And the dubbing, the best dubbing seen in any film ever. They are fooling for sure. They got to be fooling. They should have won an Oscar. Okay, yeah. Patty, you're full of poop. That's what I got to say. They should have won an Oscar just for the dubbing alone. How can a film with so many continuity errors pose the question of man, woman, fish relations and still remain so entertaining? Okay. Patty gave that a 10 out of 10. I don't think you can take the review serious in any way, but nothing they said was untrue. What is it? I just noted, look at this. Look at this BS right here. 3 people said that this did not help them. This was a very helpful. If you don't know how to interpret sarcasm, my gosh, look at these people can't take freaking jokes. Good grief. This is by Whitey Rabbit. Okay. They give it a 1 out of 10. It says it's got spoilers in it. Being a fan of bad movies, I was thrilled to find a 3-pack of crappy horror at Best Buy today. It's funny how he tried to censor the word crappy. I wonder if that's something they won't let you spell in this. Anyway, the set was cheap and included a terrible film called The Dark that I actually remember seeing in the cinema. They actually said theater, but people often correct me in the way that I say that word. So I try to avoid saying it because I get made fun of. I say that I pronounce it weirdly. The remaining two were equally as bad, Creature from the Abyss being probably the worst of the bunch. Since they were all bad, this isn't saying much. But its stupidity, bad acting, terrible effects, and retarded storyline actually made this one a lot of fun to watch. That's what I'm saying. This was a fun one. It was so absurd. It was fun. I was rolling on the floor with each new plot development. Yeah, plot. That's giving a lot of credit to these people, calling it a plot. The discovery of the abandoned ship, the missing crew, the realization that there was something terribly wrong. It was great. Of course, everyone's favorite scene seems to be the sex scene. Not particular. I found it quite disturbing. I almost lost it. Between that and the monster cam, I have to say I enjoyed this film a lot. The POV monster cam was just absurd. It was so annoying. I am a fan of bad movies, so I enjoyed it. But in all fairness, I did have to give this movie a 1 out of 10. It was awful. But if rubbish is your bag, at least rent this one. Yes, the bad pun was intentional. There you go, guys. The best, even the person who gave it a 10 out of 10 was full of crap. They're basically saying this movie is trash, but if you love trash, this is for you. And I enjoyed the absurdity of it. It was so bad. Everything about this movie was bad. The version that I watched on YouTube definitely felt like it was straight from VHS. That's how bad this copy was. The dubbing is horrible. The dialogue is absurd. The whole weirdness about the fish sex just blew my mind. I didn't understand that in any way. It felt like it came out of left field. Everybody's making weird decisions. People were bringing up, like in conversation, they'd be in an intense situation and suddenly somebody would bring up something really weird that was like, why are we talking about this right now? Does this really seem like the most appropriate time to bring this up? Like what? Why are we talking about homework that's due next Wednesday? They said nothing about homework. I'm just trying to give an absurd example of, we're going to die from this weird fish thing that's running around this yacht. Yet I'm concerned about this. What? Get your priorities straight. Let's take one thing at a time. Okay, let's escape this fish that's trying to murder us or have sex with us. I'm not really sure. And then let's worry about homework that's due next Wednesday. Again, there's nothing about homework. There was just weird things like that. But I did enjoy it, so I recommend it purely on this movie is hideous. If you guys know of any other hideous horror movies that I should check out, please leave them in the comments below. Have you ever seen Creatures from the Abyss? What did you think of it? Do you think that people that like bad horror movies should be shot? Sometimes I wonder. This has been Creepin' It Real. I am Judah. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time.